Unconventional Lifers, welcome. This is your host, Jules Schroeder, tuning in today in studio in Boulder, Colorado. Today's guest joining me is Daniel Eisenman. I got Daniel in the house. Are you ready to take us down the path less traveled?
Let's go.
Well, super excited to have you on the show. Unconventional Lifers, Daniel and I have known each other just through different people for at least some time. I think maybe even originally through Rhonda and Brian Swan, potentially.
Wow.
Which and Rhonda's a business partner of mine in another company. And
okay.
some a good amount of time being here in Boulder. And it's definitely good to have you on the show. And Unconventional Lifers, Daniel is a father, inventor, author, and the founder behind the company TribeVitamins and the Breaking Normal movement. I also know you've got an amazing podcast, the Breaking Normal podcast, which we'll link up at our show notes as well. And you're just dedicated to a lifestyle of how to language, mystery, ancient wisdom, how these concepts fundamentally change how we thrive and live our lives. And I know you've got a lot of different product lines, also combining health, combining, all these different components over a couple hundred episodes on your podcast. So you're definitely a veteran to the space as well. And just to stand for building and bridging community through experiences. So welcome to the show. Fill in any gaps that I might have left out and give us a glimpse into your world.
Thank you. That was great. I must say, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I host a lot. And I usually, when I listen to them, I double the speed, but the way you just communicated almost seemed like double speed. It was just so crisp and clear and fast.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
We have to get you on the Breaking Normal podcast.
Yes, let's do it.
And that was a great description, and you're a great orator, and I'm great. I believe questions are really the closest thing to answers. So I'm excited to explore some questions with you and see what comes up here in this window.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'd love to talk about this concept of breaking normal. And I remember, when I first started Unconventional Life, which, began on Forbes Under 30, I literally wrote a 3-page paper in 2016 about A, why podcasts and why they're important, and B, what the concept of unconventional life meant. And I always joked that the day that the unconventional became just life or conventional, that I'd be out of business happily. And, looking at, the breaking normal and the concept, I imagine we share similar philosophies with probably different or maybe similar applications of how we see the world. And I'd love for you just to share, a little bit about what that means to you and how our listeners can tune into this conversation from your context.
Cool. All right. I think the concept was birthed in college. I was on the pre-med biology path at Emory University, but I took a sociology class. And the main thing of the whole class was to write a 20-page paper on you going out in the field and breaking a social norm. And this project really captured me. It wasn't like the rest of the stuff that I would stay up all night studying for and just cramming and slamming and then passing out the next day. I was really into this. And it was the best score I ever got in a paper. I think she gave me 100 and really affirmed me. And that's where I think it was birthed. It was, and I'm sure it might be people might be curious what the norm I broke. I went to a strip club and I paid for a table dance. And my aim was to, whatever the time I was paying for, was to have to sit down and have a conversation with the woman. And that's what I did. And that's what I wrote a 20-page paper on.
Oh my goodness.
And all the things that brought up about
Yeah.
sexuality and even prostitution and all the norms around that topic. So that was in college. And then I started hosting health retreats with my brothers. And at first they were based on the itinerary was to expect nothing and experience everything. And we inevitably, we kept doing these every quarter and started teaming up with a variety of holistic health practitioners. And we really found what was going to connect this group or this tribe of people the best was if we were all dedicated to breaking the addiction to approval, breaking, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And more even focusing on experimenting with maybe ruining our reputation for a moment. And the freedom around that, getting addicted to authenticity and realizing that we change and everything changes and it's supposed to. It's culture and water are supposed to be in movement. So breaking normal, I did those retreats for about 10 years. And I was working with a guy that was studying to be a spy and a scribe. And we teamed up where we spent a month around Yellowstone National Park. and went on like all these epic experiences. And I kind of orated the book and with voice notes with him.
Yeah.
And then he scribed it. And then we went back and forth the years of editing, and we called it Breaking Normal. And I was like, my daughter was birthed at home in Encinitas, California. And I was like 90% done with that book for like years. But when I saw that birthing, I had this like lightning strike. I was like, oh, now I get to birth the book, Breaking Normal. Yeah. And then came the podcast a year later. And I'm a real big believer in synchronicity. I think that's kind of how we're connected.
Absolutely.
And that's what I decided to make the schedule for my show and to do the interviews in person. And I love doing the Breaking Normal podcast. And I love the book. The book is great. It's a great audiobook. I read it. And so do some other people that I don't know if you like interview JP Sears. He does the foreword.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine and kind of is really interwoven in that decade of those retreats.
Wow, that's so cool. I know for those joining us in person, you have the book here with us if you want to show them what the Breaking Normal is. And for those joining us online, we will link the book Breaking Normal, Rewild Your Inner Child and Set the Truth Free. Love the cover of that up at our show notes at unconventionallifeshow.com. And JP, I think I interviewed back in it was a while ago, 2017, 2018. And one of the things that struck me the most, and I'll turn this over to a question to you, is he talked about how he was this transformational coach for a long time pre-comedy. And so he was coaching and he had some success, but it wasn't like it was like crazy by any means. And then the moment he started doing these videos and these skits and combined that with the transformational coaching kind of background stuff, he just like blew up. And then, his videos went viral and we got the chance to connect somewhere in the early onset of the virality of his videos and stuff. And I think there's something, coming back to the inventor, right? And we're going to also look at, we got a bunch of products here on Conventional Lifers of things that you've done and a great giveaway. So make sure to stay tuned for that at the end. It takes something to be an inventor of your life and to look at these creative gifts and talents that you have. And I think a lot of our listeners, they can feel, this transition that there's this knowing inside of them that more is coming and their external reality doesn't match it yet. And so these ideas that maybe come like on the shower, on the way back from work, or just doing something in the day with their kids, they can like nag to some degree in a beautiful way. And then to kind of give the permission to just create and to create in all these capacities, like the podcast, the book, the vitamins, all these different things. What would you say to some of our listeners who feel this multi-expressive potential inside of themselves and their world doesn't see it yet? And how have you been able to weave some of those threads in your own inventor pursuit?
I think, first of all, you mentioned the shower. Did you mention the shower? Yeah, that's where I think the ideas for me are the strongest. When I'm in like a hot shower days late at night and kind of full and tired. And I'm like, wait, why am I? And sometimes I don't even feel it's like, I'm like, I should be asleep. So almost like in a bit of a sleepy hot shower state. It seems like those ideas that have some real wings to them percolate. They start percolating in the shower. Yeah. And I think the first step on that is not to go share the idea with everyone, not to go like prematurely spill the feeling of the idea without taking some action on it first. I see that way too much. And I recently was interviewing a guy, or vice versa, and we were talking about how Michael Phelps, before he apparently had he didn't tell anyone his goals before going into the Beijing Olympics, like even his coach that almost knew everything else about him. It was like that important to like harness that energy. So I follow my heartbeat. When there's something that gets my heart to beat like a butterfly and makes me what maybe some people would call nervous, I would like to call excited or even anxious.
Sweet spot.
I'm like
sensation.
And especially when synchronicity is involved, I follow synchronicity like breadcrumbs from God. So like when there's a little perfect storm of like, okay, there's this idea that's percolating and it feels like a really good idea, and now there's a synchronicity that's involved with it. Take some action on it. Yeah. And don't get caught up in like the final production of it. Take the first step. When I had the idea, but for TribeVitamins, I remember I was like consulting with my friend who was heavily involved with Patagonia, and they were even heavily involved with bison. And she I told her my big vision of like having bison liver on Amazon. I still don't have it on Amazon, which I'm kind of proud about, but having it in all these places, the big vision of it. And she's like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you make the bottle? Like put it in the type of bottle that you want, put the label that you want on it, make the product that you want to sell to others, and use it for a month. And I took her that advice. Like, I call her my bison shaman. I took that like, that's my mission.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then once I did that, then my idea had some real grounds. But if I went around and just like started spilling the beans around like this big bison liver idea and just like shared it with all these people, I feel like you can lose some of the energy there. Where you need to harness that and take the step, like start exploring the idea, like make it the first step goal.
Yeah.
And then usually that means a prototype. Make the prototype so you can use it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so well said. You know, I really believe like, what did you say it? You said like synchronicity is like God's breadcrumbs.
Yes,
I think that's like so well said. And I even hold like God puts these visions. He wouldn't put these visions on our hearts if they're not meant for us and ours to actualize. And it requires this like attunement in my own experience and discernment of that. And as you said, harnessing the energy. And then I call it this process of rapid visioning, where similar, it's most people think about, okay, if you want to start vitamins, you got to have this qualification and that qualification. You got to know all this shit about all this other shit.
I heard that so many times.
Right. And then that's where it comes back to feedback. That's why you tell people your idea and they're like, definitely don't do that. And then they like dump all their crap on you. Well, I heard about this thing and whatever. Your idea is squashed before you've even taken the next step. But what you're proposing and what I think about rapid visioning, it's this idea that what is the most natural, easy step I could take right now? And I come back to this question of what do I know to be true in this moment? And if I come back to that, I might not know step 10. I might not know distribution. I might know that. Could I figure out how to make a product that I want in a basic form and eat it myself or try it myself for a month? Probably. Could I figure out some bottle and go to some print store and put a label? Yeah. Will it be like sexy thing that hit the shelves? Probably not in its first form, but will it accomplish the experience of what I want to do? And then will that give me more data in the process? And that unconventional lifers, for those in transition, I think the fastest way to get clarity is you break up with the conversation that you're stuck. And then you get in the medium of what you want to do such that the next thing shows itself. And, you know, here we are looking at this beautiful bottle that I imagine looks different than a V1 probably did.
I mean, we're still experimenting. There's like our bottle of elk velvet antler. It comes like in an apothecary style bottle. I love it. It can fit in your pocket. It's kind of like a rocket in your pocket.
Yeah. But you grew these vitamins and you ship online. You got the tallow bombs and all these other things. And will you tell us a little bit about from those seeds, right, what it's grown into and it's become and what you've, learned along the way?
Well, it was, this is another reason to pursue an idea. It's something that I wanted that did not exist. The beef liver industry was booming, and I could not find 100% grass-fed bison liver in capsules because when I thought of like what liver I want to eat raw, freeze-dried a little bit every day, I'm like, I want to do the American bison. Yeah. I've spent enough time in Yellowstone to know that like not a retired New Zealand dairy cow.
Yeah. And just to pause, we are talking about beef liver, just so our listeners make sure they're hearing you correctly. Because your vitamins are unconventional. They're breaking norm.
We sell bison liver. That's what I'm saying. So almost everyone else sells beef liver. And I wanted to have bison liver as like my multivitamin. Yeah. And it was not on the marketplace. So this really gave me some fuel of like, well, I should make this. And now I'm very happy it exists, especially traveling, because I know you could probably relate to this. Like when I'm in a new city, in a new place I've never been, and I'm hungry, it's not always in my best interest to like sit down for a couple hours and eat some overpriced meal that's going to like slow me down and make me actually less hungry for life. I have all these freeze-dried organs in capsules. They're like from the best animals in the world. They have the best nutrients in the world for like me to microdose whenever I need to, where I get like nurtured and I lose my hunger for overfeeding myself with food, and I get like more hungry for life. Yeah.
So can we slow that down for a minute? Because I think some of our listeners, I remember the first time, it might have been one of our mutual friends who told me what kind of vitamins you're making. And I was like, I've never heard of like, A, the benefits of those things, but B, the why, Yeah. And for some of our listeners who maybe were like me in those early moments, can you share a little bit about the why behind these particular types of vitamins? And I know you do stuff for women as well.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, our ancestors, the people that lived here before Europeans ever lived here, like the indigenous people of this land, they prized the organs of the American bison or the buffalo, as some people call them, elk, and other animals. And they would actually they would prize these organs so much for like pregnant moms, for men going into battle, they knew like inherently without any data from a scientist that these are the most nutrient dense foods on earth. And it's probably because if you spend enough time in the wild, all predators do this as well. Wolves, cats, killer whales will kill a great white shark, remove the liver, and leave the rest of the body.
Wow.
And sometimes take the heart and testicles,
wow.
which we also encapsulate of the bison.
Yeah.
So I love the ancient wisdom part of it. And it turns out the beef liver industry is booming because people are showing that like almost every micronutrient someone takes a supplement for, especially like retinol, for instance, there's probably nothing that has more retinol than raw bison liver. And that's how we freeze dry it.
Yeah.
And beef liver would be very competitive, and beef liver is much more normal and popular and well known. But there's 100 million cows on earth and about like 500,000 bison. So we're really niched in to the, like what actually is from when you say ancient nutrition or you say ancestral supplements, like the indigenous people of this land were not eating the organs of dairy cows. They were eating a bison.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with all your travels, you've been around bison.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And cows, not knocking on the modern day cow that like feeds billions of people. Just saying they're very different animals.
Yeah. And their spirit, their energy, and ultimately, I think, right, if everything that we experience in the world is some form of energy, right, like it has its own signature. And like to get into kind of the spirituality a little bit, because I know that you go there as well. What do you think most people don't realize about consciousness and the role consciousness, and we can even look at it like consciousness from an animal in terms of these products, but even just the living quality that exists in different things and that plays in life and maybe even in your own life?
Well, I think it can be transferred. Like the idea, if you are what you eat.
Yeah.
It's that's maybe more deeper than it's like not literal.
Yeah.
But there's some real depth to that. And I know when I eat even fruits that are picked like from a tree, like a coconut that I can cut myself. Like I remember being in Panama in Bocas del Toro, and there's like these short little coconut trees, dwarf coconut trees, and they have these like fresh green coconuts. You can just grab 2 of them and then bang them together, and then you have this fresh coconut water. Like I feel like I take on the vibrancy and the resilience of this palm tree and these coconuts. Like there's something that's so invigorating about drinking coconut water like that I really don't buy coconut water.
Yeah.
In the bottles.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me because I've drinking too many coconuts like I just described.
Sure. Yeah.
And the same thing with the I've been a part of a bison harvest. I've been part of hunts. We had a group bison harvest, and when at first there was a lot of hesitancy for some people to break the norm of eating a raw bison heart that was just beating like 25 minutes ago. But once everyone was consuming that meat, it was obvious. There was a new consciousness that was buzzing. It was like people were getting high on this food.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. Totally. As I'm listening to you talk, I had the privilege of going to Tanzania maybe about 2 years ago. We had this big group that I was producing this event. It's called Wow It's Now. And Wow It's Now.
Like that.
And it was this, bunch of entrepreneur, creative kind of people. And we were on this hunt in Tanzania with the Hazabi tribe. And they're the oldest tribe in the world from 10,000 years ago. And they're one of the few tribes that still lives and operates to some degree how they did. So the ways and the rituals of hunting and all those things have maintained, passed down. And so there was an opportunity to camp with them for one night, which they don't do. It's not like, the Maasai and others where most tourists can have an opportunity. This was very just unique experience. And so they asked if we wanted to go hunting. And there was like the big hunt, which I didn't do. You had to get up at like 2 a.m. You probably would have maybe done something like that.
I have passed on hunts.
But I went on the small hunt, and these kids, they're like 8 years old, and they're running through the bush barefoot. And they're just like to the point where you actually have to like get a little cardio going to like keep up with them. And the guy, one of these kids finally kills this bow and arrow with this bird and literally breaks the neck in front of us. And he just, with his bare mouth, like eats the heart out of this bird.
Wow.
And anyways, for whatever reason, that story reminded me of the story you were just sharing, but it was for them like a rite of passage to do that as a respect, A, for the life of the animal, but B, as like a providership for what they're stewarding into the village. And I think there's something with providership, and not only in this conversation, but also with our gifts and how we steward the providership for people. I know you build community. I've got community as well. That is really important and sometimes can be a lost art. And I'm just curious your own experience with that word and that concept, and just, what your take is on that.
Well, it immediately brought up the reason I actually started hunting at all and actually going on hunts where the intention was to kill an animal, was because my daughter just started eating meat. And that was very important to me. I'm like, oh gosh, because it brings it back to the consciousness. I'm like, we could get that stuff at the grocery store. There's awesome meat at the grocery store, but the consciousness of how that got there is very different than me going to get the best meat available. I think that would serve her the best. And that's why I was able to do that hunt. That's like, hunting is quite traumatic, especially for someone that hasn't done it growing up and then did that and then doing it like intentionally. It's a very spiritual thing. The closest thing I have ever seen or has felt during those hunts where I actually killed an animal was seeing my daughter born.
Yeah.
And there's like a consciousness there. There's like a portal there with birthing and death. But yeah, I kind of think that's the secret of living is giving. That's why TribeVitamins still exists 5 years later. That's why we did retreats for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Because it was how we were going to have the most fun is if we could provide the most fun for others. How I can make this company best for me is making my customers as satisfied as possible. It's sort of like the secret of everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's embedded in every religion as well.
Yeah.
From karma to the golden rule.
Yeah, absolutely. For our listeners that are interested in unconventional livers, we're going to talk about the giveaway just in a little bit here, but they want to start their own product-based businesses and similar with maybe different interests. There's some inciting incident or why on their heart, like they don't see the thing that they want. And even for me, I've navigated so many different health challenges from Lyme's to autoimmune, and that I've been fortunately able to, have flare up and put back to sleep. But oftentimes, like in those seasons, right, of discomfort or seasons of challenge, there aren't, you create your own map a lot of times. And I like to say the unconventional lifers, we create the maps that we wish we saw or wish we had. And for listeners that might be interested in doing some of that, any steps that now in terms of what it takes to cross into the market, build the community within the products that you could share for those that are just beginning?
Beginning in the sense that they might want to create something similar.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, I just want to pass that along, that same advice that I got, that if it's a product, to create the product and use it yourself. And then make sure if you really still want to keep using that product, then start sharing it with a good group of friends that you trust.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Whether it's Indiegogo or Kickstarter, that's how I did TribeVitamins, was on Kickstarter, because you get pre-sales, you get proof of concept prior, you really get to engage that maybe this is something that you want to like put a lot of money and effort into, or maybe it was like just a random hot shower idea that's just for you that no one else cares about.
Yeah.
Like you'll get to see that feedback.
Yeah.
Because giving product away is different than putting it. I prefer the Kickstarter way. It's like my best customers are not necessarily ones I've like wanted to my best customers to be. They like start out by buying it.
Yeah. And that is a qualifier. Will people pay for it?
Yeah, that's a great qualifier. Yeah. So, and is that what you were kind of asking me?
Yeah.
I think those are great ways to start. Like it's not a matter of like, oh, if this scales, it's going to cost like $2 million. Like, first of all, does anyone want what you're selling?
Yeah.
That knows you and doesn't know you?
Yeah. I remember listening. I don't know if you've heard of a guy named Dane Maxwell before.
Dane Maxwell I've interviewed.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay, so Dane and Andy Drish, Andy and his wife Libby, they're dear friends of mine. I actually just went to Minnesota to visit them, but
Wow.
yeah. So okay, we're more connected.
I was thinking about Dane recently because I was in
Yeah.
Encinitas. That's how we used to hang out on the same. We used to live on the same street.
Okay, and he had that sky house.
Yep,
that
I was right down the street.
Well, all right, and I've definitely spent time
Montgomery.
at that sky house. Yeah. Small world. Well, with the foundation, one thing when that was first starting in Unconventional Lifers, Dane and Andy started this business called The Foundation, where they taught entrepreneurs how to do SaaS as a service-based business, and were quite successful. I think they did 10 million in a couple of years with it, and just there was a market and demand for it. One of the things he always said that I remember is he would say, "You just got to data test. You got to ideate, and will people pay for it?" And in the SaaS-based business, software as a service, they cold call and just say like, "Hey, here's this thing. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what it would cost." But that ideation phase, I see a lot of entrepreneurs have amazing hobbies, think that there's all this red tape, as we talked about, to create those things. But a business is only a business if it makes money. And most of the time, the path to ideating the cash, and it is a business because it also does impact, it has meaning. I'm not negating that the importance or significance of those things, but the sustainability, the longevity of something is because it has a sustainable cash engine. And so like within that longevity side of it and ideating, I love what you're speaking to about the data testing, and it just reminds me of Dane a little bit as well. And what have you learned as you keep going on these different, ventures of yours, and how you data test life and or new products?
Oh, so much. It's, I during my retreats, I really got caught up with this idea that is what's most personal is most universal.
Mm.
So a lot of my data testing is on myself.
Yeah.
And there's like certain products that I've really come to appreciate more and more, especially when I run out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like to, I have such high, maybe it's not fair to project this advice onto other people, but I have extremely high standards, and most things in the like grocery stores don't fit them.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like overwhelmed with product ideas. So I'm constantly testing. I'm constantly, and that's the real inventor in me, I guess. But I'm constantly doing it, and I get a lot of feedback from like my daughter and my close friends, people that I trust in it. But I love staying in the creative phase.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I thrive in.
Yeah, I love it. So good. Unconventional Lifers, Daniel Eisenman. We're going to jump into the rapid fire on here in just a moment. I got some lightning questions coming at you. Then we are going to talk about this giveaway that we've been teasing out. But before we do, my last question for you is just thinking about your philosophy towards life. And when I think about life, for example, at least in how I map it, we're all familiar with this linear reality concept of A plus B equals, C. Like go to school, get good grades, get a good job, get a better job, retire, and eventually die. It's like a shortened version of it. And then I call this non-linear reality domain. It's this realm of synchronicities. I call it the field of miracles. And it operates usually on this premise of what we don't know that we don't know exists yet. And in that, it requires a different map. Like linear reality says, like based on the past, I can reliably predict the future. And that to some degree is my existence of the present. It's like what you know that you know, or what you know that you don't know, but there's some degree of knowing. You like exit that realm and you're in this non-linear domain, and there is no map. There is literally, I will only know the how after the fact. So I literally have to know what I know to be true now, take the first step, and after the fact, I'll see the map of how I got there. And that's interesting for a lot of people in my experience, because we're conditioned to certainty, and we're conditioned to want to feel like we have direction and knowing where we're going. And yet this third domain has all this like unique potential. And I'm curious, when you think about your philosophy of living, and whether you call it breaking normal and how you do, what is the map for how you live and see the lens, and how would you articulate it that maybe some of our listeners could go, okay, that's really interesting, because I think we all have our own personality of it, and it makes, such a difference to each of us.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think we're all treasure hunters. I feel like when we're on a treasure hunt, we're really in a good space. I see that in my daughter very clearly. Like going on seashell hunts with her. Wow. I have like a whole new appreciation for the beach. So I believe we're in like a more childlike state when we're on a treasure hunt. So I aim to stay on that treasure hunt, but I don't see the map clear. It's not like a clear map like you're explaining. So I really do let synchronicity guide my way.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is like back to the breadcrumbs. I look at those as breadcrumbs from God, and I take those sincerely and I follow, I at least explore what that meant. And sometimes it's not like what I thought, it just opens up another
Sure.
door. And how I know that for me is like there's a certain heartbeat, there's a certain like glee. It's like a nervousness mixed with excitement and potential.
Mm.
And I've learned to follow that in my body quite sincerely as well. And I do think that takes discernment. I mean, I think a lot of the breath work and a lot of the retreat works I've done, and a lot of the like surfing and like spending time in nature and polar, like cold plunging and sauna, like losing kind of my mind, like practicing losing my mind by strategic suffering, and getting more in touch with like my nervous system and my heart. I really do like the heartbeat, the flutter. It's like a flutter by. It's like a, and that kind of like that. That's my map. When I feel like that butterfly in my heart, I'm like, I'm gonna follow that butterfly.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Anything else you want to add?
It's tough to put it into words.
Yeah.
And I imagine it happens for different people in different ways. Like, you know, some people talk about like they just have like a clear voice of what to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm writing this book right now that comes out later this year, and it's called The Manifestation Equation Equals I Am. And it's this premise of I am is literally like a command of creation that dictates back. But the way that I articulate it, it's how to align your intention, the I, with your attention to inevitably create and manifest the M, your own unconventional life. And the premise is not that most people don't have intention, but where they get challenged is keeping their attention on the things that they want. And I think attention, I was just in New Zealand, like overlooking the water and this, typing away like pages and pages and pages, the editor being like, where's the book? And I'm like, it's coming. But that, to distinguish those sensations in the body and the map and start to understand your own map, unconventional lifers, I imagine some of you have your own, like, this is how it occurs for me. Like you were saying, it's the sweet spot. This is how I clock it as a synchronicity. And for others, it can feel like noise. And I remember for seasons of my life, early on, it was hard to trust it, to discern it, yet alone make key decisions from it. And then when you do learn that relationship, your whole life can actually be created from that framework if you're willing to try it on. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And that's my challenge for all you listeners, especially this year, because I've been deep in that body of work, is what are those ways that you can start to create that map with yourself and trust it? And I don't know if you have any last thoughts on that before we jump into the rapid fire round.
Well, definitely the part of the giveaway, the book, Breaking Normal. That's like my whole exploration of that topic.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it happens like when you're losing time and space.
Yep.
Like if you're losing track of time or space and that flow state, there's something there special to pay attention to. Yeah, I have so much to say about it, but the book is definitely a great resource if you want to hear me ramble on more.
Yeah.
And give a lot of testimonies at the retreats about how other people kind of lost their mind and came to their senses and like really started to live a life where they're amplifying their sensations so they can get more in touch with those.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like our gut and our heart are just much more closer to the truth than our mind can be sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll link Breaking Normal at unconventionallifeshow.com. You can check out the book there. Let's jump into the rapid fire round.
Okay,
Lightning
awesome.
questions. Are you ready?
I believe, maybe.
Question number 1, fill in the blank. Speaking about yourself, if you really knew me, you would know what?
That I don't lie.
Love that. Yeah.
That sounds like a lie. That's how honest I am. Just the more you get to know me, I'm like, well, that could be debated. But anyways, yeah, that's what they would probably say.
Yeah. Next question. What is one practice that you do regularly that you feel sets you up for success?
My breath work, especially outside in the sun, especially if I'm naked.
Yeah. I feel like I've come upon you more times at the Boulder Creek in the last many years, not necessarily naked, but doing breathwork or cold plunging.
Yeah, so, not looking to get arrested.
Yeah.
But next to a creek, next to moving water is also a great spot.
Yeah, love that. Next question. What is one place that you've been to recently that you feel like, most people might not know about or appreciate?
Oh, the shoreline between Seaside Reef or tabletops. I'm being careful not to give too much information away, but this shoreline between tabletops and Ponto Beach in Carlsbad. It's probably about a 4 to 5 mile shoreline strip.
Yeah, in California.
Yep. Yeah, this is North County, San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lastly, when you think about the
low tide, if you're going to hike that,
yeah,
that's going to be super low tide, and you can really see it.
Yeah. Lastly, when you think about the unconventional life, what does that concept mean to you?
The unconventional life is, I think, very parallel of breaking normal. It sounds a lot like to me that someone's going to be following their heart instead of what others told them to do.
Yeah. Well said. Daniel, Eisenman, Unconventional Lifers. All right, let's talk about this giveaway that we got for one of the listeners. I know we've been teasing it out this episode. What do we have in store?
All right. Well, firstly, I'll give a signed book, and I'll sign this for you before we leave.
Yeah.
And that is definitely somewhat of a more like an audible or visual map of what I thought of a lot of what we talked about today through about a decade of hosting retreats. Happy to throw in the Colorado raw honey. Did you try this? I know Casey got this from one.
And this is Casey my mutual friend was going on about how good this honey is. So
yeah, that's a lot. Everyone says it's the best honey they've had. Now this will be your decision. I brought 2 tallows here. Why don't you open both of them and then you let me know which one you want. And then I'll throw that one into the giveaway.
We've got the Bison Tallow, the Sun Balm, product number 1 over here, which gotta love the Bison.
And that's more like a pina colada.
Yeah.
And it has a little organic mango butter in it. So it's a little lighter and it's just maybe a little bit more ideal for the sun.
Wow. Bison Tallow white chocolate.
That's our best seller by far.
Oh my goodness.
And the OG.
Ooh, wow. These are really good. I actually think I'm drawn to the mango.
There you go. All right.
So the best seller will add to the gift, the white chocolate balm.
All right. So this will go to the giveaway.
Yeah.
This is all going there.
Yeah.
Pina colada. And if you're looking, we'll link their show.
Yeah.
And then I think for your listeners, do you have mostly women or men? Or
we got a good mix. We got a lot of little strong women. Or we got both. We have women and men.
Let's do that because we talked about the bison liver. I'll put a bison liver plus heart in there as well. Our like main flagship product. Yeah.
So cool. Unconventional Lifers, what a generous giveaway. Thank you for that. This you all know the drill. Head over to the website, unconventionallifeshow.com. Click on the giveaway tab. Giveaways are open 1 week after the episode airs. So make sure to catch us live every single Monday. And I know some of you get really jazzed about these giveaways. So if you want to send us some emails and be like, this is why I need this giveaway, let us know. And for those that want to check out these products and learn more about them, what's the best way for people to do that?
That would be TribeVitamins.com.
Amazing. TribeVitamins.com. And for those that want to stay in touch, I know also with your podcast, and we'll link all that stuff there as well.
Yeah. And the podcast name and the book name is Breaking Normal. Amazing. And I love pushing people towards the Spotify because the full video version there. And that's how I listen to podcasts. I love how you can add it to playlists and such. It's awesome. Awesome platform for Breaking Normal. So, and I love doing it in the studio. It's cool that you're doing some work here as well now.
I know on Conventional Lifers, we're trying out a new season to do some in-person finally. So it's great to have you as one of our first round of guests. So
how is that doing them in person so far?
I've always preferred it. And there's just been this seeing the world, how to catch it on the fly. And we were talking about this before we turned it on, having different seasons where you can just deepen, right? And I'm always an in-person. I think that's why events and experiences matter too, So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. I prefer doing them in person as well. You had Dr. Sam, and then who was before?
We had, who else did we have? We had Ben Duffy.
Oh, nice. What a lineup. I love it.
I know.
Yeah, this is a very Breaking Normal lineup for you today. That's great.
It is. It's a good way to kick it off. So stay tuned for all those episodes. But Unconventional Lifers, we will link all those notes at unconventionallifeshow.com. It was so great to chat with you, more, in depth about what you're up to and just the way that you see the world. I got a lot out of it today, and I'm sure our listeners did as well. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to flip this table and get you on the Breaking Normal podcast.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so good. And Unconventional Lifers, it's so great to have you. Go check out that giveaway, and we'll be back with you more soon.
All right. Thanks, Jules.
Thanks so much, everyone.